So, hello, welcome to the fabulous Vinopolis for the unBound conference. I'm sure you've seen many interesting tech brands and corporate names speaking about disrupting digital today. On this panel, I'll be talking to some of the greatest startup success stories of the past decade to explore how technology is enabling us to connect with the world that we live in. So, you might have to introduce yourself. For those who don't know me, as Bindi said, my name is Kirsty Stiles. I'm a new reporter at the Dutch tech mag, The Next Web. And I'm joined by a full house for any growing startup. I have a CEO, which is Rises from YPlan. I have Renaud, who is CTO at Eventbrite. I have
Ephraim Gilbert, so I'm the Chief Operating Officer at SimilarWeb.
Wonderful. A COO is a good swap in. And finally, Jason, who is, finally Johan, who is Managing Director EMEA at Dropbox. So certainly some of the biggest startup success stories, I think you'll agree. So hashtag is unBound Digital if you want to ask any questions or you have any comments. And I'll also take some questions at the end if anybody has anything burning that they'd like to ask the guys. So, you guys have all had the opportunity to build your businesses post-iPhone. Has mobile been a game changer for consumer tech relations? Ritis.
Sure. So just by way of quick intro, as many of you probably know, YPlan is a mobile-first business and indeed a mobile-only business for the first couple of years of our existence. We launched in 2012 as a marketplace for people to discover and buy events. So event tickets, basically, across 9 different categories. And we were an app-only, an iOS app-only business, actually, for the first 9 months of our existence. Then Android app came, and then the website came, and all that. But basically, the business is still very, very much mobile-centric. And mobile doesn't come without its challenges. It's a new ecosystem, brand new ways to distribute, brand new ways to engage. Brand new ways to acquire the audience. But what we find is that actually on the mobile device, once you've gone through the initial hurdle of customer acquisition and you've given them the product that they really like, again, customer experience and the expectations there from the customer's perspective are exceptionally high on mobile. Their attention span is that of a fish, right? Like they're on the phone 150 times a day doing this. So you either capture them or you don't. If you do, and your product provides utilitarian value to the customer, then you will see them again. So that's been a major learning for us. Is once you get the customer to experience, a well-built product that caters to the set of needs that has been advertised, it does. Customers, are massively sticky if you provide that sort of experience, to the customer. So yeah, that's YPlan and the impact of mobile, I guess, on us. Without mobile, YPlan wouldn't exist. Let's put it that way.
Indeed. So Renaud, you're an events business, but you've gone the other way, desktop to mobile. How was that as a challenge for you?
Exactly. So we started as a web-only platform. Eventbrite was meant from the beginning to be a self-service event management platform. We've grown a lot over the years, but mobile really came about 2 years after we started. We had to really think about our business and where at the time people were looking for events, and mobile wasn't the place yet. So we slowly integrated mobile into our offering, first to organizers to do entry management. That was the first app we launched. We thought it was a perfect tool for organizers. They already had their phones on them. They didn't need barcode scanners anymore. They could just use the camera on the phone. And that was widely popular and still being used today. And then over the years, we looked at the adoption curve of mobile, how it totally disrupted the way we consume things, the way we discover things, and launched our consumer app about 4 years ago. It's still a small percentage of our business.
I was going to say, can you tell us, kind of relatively speaking?
And we don't give exact numbers. Mobile web is very big, but sales through the mobile applications is not. It's still a very tiny percentage for us.
Interesting. Okay.
We still rely a lot on the organizers' websites, on their presence online to drive ticket sales to us. We bring also a lot of value for matching customers with organizers that have great events for them. But that connection on mobile is not quite there yet, so we're looking at a lot of different ways to improve that. I think the next few years for us is going to be massive investment on that side to bridge the gap and make our application a lot more exciting for people to use.
Okay.
Not just for browsing, but also for intelligently pushing things to you at the right time. I think we live very hectic lives, like you mentioned. Attention span on mobile is very short. So the more we can re-engage people regularly with quality content, I think the more successful we will be. And we have a lot of investments to make on that part of the equation.
I have to say I'm a super fan. I hesitate to say that I may have been to thousands and thousands of Eventbrite events, so I would welcome some smart kind of intelligent analysis, which brings me on to Ephraim. So you guys are a data business kind of working in the background, I guess, around players like these. How has mobile changed what you guys have to do to find and engage people like us?
Right. Look, it's actually a fundamental difference in the way our customers do business and the way our users do business, and that changes what we do as well. When we look at the challenge that our customers face, they've got enormous amounts of data on what they're doing in their business. So they can have Google Analytics, they can have any number of marketing cloud technologies, and that's great, but when you try and put your strategy together and then when you want to implement that strategy, unless you have great information on what your competitors are doing, then it's like playing chess without seeing the other players' pieces. You're kind of blind. Sorry?
Battleships.
Yes. Hard. So what we try and do is be the place that companies can come to where they can discover what these strategies being used online by their competitors, by their industry are. They can benchmark against it, they can decide what they want to do, and then you can use our tool also to help you execute your strategy. Now, obviously in a world where there's just desktop, that's one set of technologies that we needed to master. In a world where there's mobile web and now there's apps as well, what we actually try and provide is a solution for every website, both desktop and mobile, and also for every app. And so we're trying to find a full 360 solution, and we've launched technologies in all those areas already.
Right, okay. And is that, and how easy is that to do?
So it's extremely difficult to do because for us it means that we've got to provide data. It's a little bit like if you think of Google Analytics or technologies that you cover or that cover your own websites and your own apps. We provide that kind of data on every website and every app, not your own one. And so it's a big data problem. We have petabytes of data. We accumulate terabytes of data a day. We have teams of data scientists that process that data, and then we provide it in as elegant way as we can to literally hundreds of thousands of businesses.
Okay. And so coming on to our work-life bit, we were a bit concerned that the panel wasn't necessarily the title that we really wanted to do, but we have work over here in the form of Johan from Dropbox. So how has mobile changed what you guys have been doing?
Yeah, I think mobile is really very much at the fundament of what we are doing. What we are is we are a synchronization, sharing, and collaboration platform. And we allow and enable people to synchronize, share, and collaborate across all the devices they use. That is really the key value that we provide. And that obviously makes mobile absolutely central. Yes, we started on the PC, but that was only a very, very short lead time before we then also sort of branched out to the first mobile platforms, initially iPhone, shortly thereafter Android. Today, I think one of the key challenges that we have is how do we build a product that is as simple and as intuitive as our initial version was across all those different platforms. Again, for Dropbox, what has been core to our success was the adoption and engagement that we have seen early on. And today, as we evolve our product, we need to make sure that for all these different platforms, which all have their own design needs and the own way of being used, that we still have an integrated product experience and an integrated set of functionalities. And to be frank, where we see it working easy, like we're working well, is when you go from PC to mobile. What is a little harder, but I think we have by now also figured it out, is a lot of our users are mobile-first users. How do we migrate those to also use Dropbox on the PC? And so we have really two migration paths that we need to take care of, and we invest a lot of design hours into making sure that that really works.
See, I was going to ask you how much mobile is part of what you do. So you've got mobile-first users who are
massive amount of mobile first.
Who are doing their work on their phone at home or in
both on the private and on the work side. Yeah, so the primary private use case on the mobile phone would be photos. Yeah, our distribution partnerships with Samsung and HTC and many others are critical there. On the enterprise side, there are a lot of companies, especially in the SMB space, who today run their businesses on the mobile phone. Yeah, let me take an example, like just the builder out there somewhere here in London. Probably if that person is running a small company, they will run their business today on the mobile phone or on maybe a small tablet. And their file server is Dropbox. So how do we make sure they start that way, that they then also take that file manager, file server Dropbox and really use it in the back office, which is maybe their mother-in-law, which is sitting somewhere in an office in London.
So this might not be quite relevant to you, Ephraim, but I want to come back and talk about how used to people like me are for getting free stuff and how you work with that as companies that are obviously trying to make money and, yes, ultimately make profit. So is it a challenge in this kind of for-free economy that we have created for ourselves?
Good question. I don't know if it's necessarily always a challenge. It really depends on the business model, and there's many ways to monetize. You may charge for the product itself, or you may charge for a sort of expert level of usage of a product, or you may charge per transaction. So if you, Kirsty, come to YPlan, it's free. Come and browse around and do whatever you like. However, if you're buying a ticket, actually it's also free for you. In the sense you're paying for the ticket, you're not paying any booking fees or anything else. We actually have our supply side pay for you to buy the ticket, basically. The reason being that YPlan is, we were just chatting before this, before the panel here with Renault, and that YPlan is a discovery platform. People come to us without a predetermined notion of what they want to do. They want to go out tonight, or they want to go out this weekend. They want to take their friends out or their better halves out. And when they buy those tickets on YPlan, this is a very incremental purchase. We find that if 100 people bought tickets, 90 of those 100 wouldn't have bought it without YPlan, right? So they come to YPlan for inspiration. They come to YPlan to find ideas. And when they buy, that sale is very profitable to the supplier, right? So that's a customer that wouldn't have gone to that event otherwise. The supplier, the event organizer, be it a music promoter, or theater producer, a comedy show organizer, they willingly pay us in order for you, Kirsty, to not pay booking fees.
Yeah, I like it that you've packaged up kind of distressed inventory, stuff that wouldn't have got sold as a lovely experience for people like me.
So the interesting bit about the word distressed is that actually 98% of live events are distressed if you use the notion of there is at least some tickets available. So only 2% of tickets sell out, 2% of events genuinely sell out, and 98% don't. And the average sell-through rate is 60 to 70%. So you're actually, it's a little bit like in this room. Is this a full room? No. Is this an empty room? No. It's about 70% full, right? So there's about 30% of seats available, maybe 35, and that's where YPlan comes in as a layer of additional distribution and an additional megaphone to the supplier, if you will.
Okay, and how does it work over at Eventbrite? I know I might have signed up for a few events in my time and probably not gone. So how does it work for you when you've got people like me who Netflix and chill?
It's been a great acquisition channel for us. A large part of our inventory of events is free. So if you go on Eventbrite today, you'll probably find 50, 60% of events are free. And you can have great experiences for a zero cost. And what that creates is an effective marketplace where you can find things that you don't want to pay for and they're free, and things that you would pay for and that are still free, but you also find events like on YPlan that you would pay for because the level of excitement, the level of quality of the event is so much higher that you're willing to pay for that. So I think catering with the free event space for us has been a very strategic move. A lot of our competitors make organizers pay for selling free tickets. It's called selling because they actually charge for it. We decided early on that the freemium model was our model, that organizers would try our service with their first free events, and that eventually when they moved into more professional, more organized paid events, they would also use us. And that's paid off tremendously for us. I think it's in a large part responsible for our growth over the last 10 years, and it's not something we're looking to change in the next few years.
Okay, and Johan, I have another admission. I do not pay for Dropbox. So how do you...
You're welcome.
Lots of revelations about my terrible life. So I don't pay for Dropbox. How do you... in fact, actually, you guys have started advertising on Spotify. I know that because I don't pay for Spotify either. And I guess the secret is the big business users. Is that where you kind of make your...
Our business model is super simple. We have two pay models. The first is for our heavy consumer usage. You pay. Yeah, and what we introduced there is simply a threshold. If you have more than 2.5 gigabyte in storage that you use, if you want to go beyond, you can either invite lots of your friends, which is very, very valuable for us, or you can pay. And I think we are well known as one of the most successful freemium models out there. So in that sense, I guess we were lucky. Yeah, I think I could claim there was a lot of smarts behind how we did this, but let me rather be honest. I think we were just lucky and got it right. And so that pay model worked extremely well. Yeah, which I think also had to do with the fact that the users acknowledged that we did not do a lot of the other revenue-generating things that you usually see on websites. So we are not doing any advertising. We are not doing any upselling, or any cross-selling, or anything like that. Yeah, we are really not intrusive on the users, and we simply say, if you want to keep on using this great service, there are two things you can do. Either you help us being used by ever more people, so invite friends, or you pay us a moderate amount. So that worked very well. And then we had all these CIOs calling us and saying, hey, I have lots of people using Dropbox in my company, and that is really impressive that you are being adopted that much, but it's also a problem for us. And initially, we hoped that this would go away, but it didn't. And so we say, hey, a problem is also an opportunity, and that is when we really started to think about we are becoming a sharing and collaboration platform, really both on the consumer and on the enterprise side, and we embraced enterprise, and yes, developed a pay product there, which is at this point in time doing extremely well, and that is our second revenue stream. But again, the fundamental pricing there is super, super simple. It is per user per month or per user per year.
How unique do you think that story is of being a kind of enterprise software as a service that ends up being brought into companies by, brand advocates who are using it personally? Is that quite a unique story in enterprise software? You get people coming in with a Dell computer and being like, we're going to use Dell. Maybe Google Drive or...
So I'm not 100% sure I get the question.
You've got quite a unique story there in the sense that you've got individuals, people like me, who started using Dropbox, and then News Corp and Channel 4 changed their whole infrastructure to align with their workers. How is that kind of unique or kind of increasingly...
Is it unique? I think it was unique in the beginning, but I think there are more and more companies who are seeing the same trend, and it's really consumerization of IT, right? And if you want to take a step back, Apple is really a story of consumerization of IT. I remember I was one of the early guys turning up with an iPhone to work. And there were moments where we were like, definitely IT looked at me and said, that is really strange. You want to use that device? Yeah, and it was not accepted. Yeah, you used, back then it was still BlackBerry. Yeah, and in many ways, go back, another consumerization of IT story is actually Microsoft. Remember those times when sort of bringing a PC in, that were the consumer guy. That's the guy, usually the engineer or the student who brought his or her device in from a private environment into work. And I think we see more and more of that. Yes, partially driven by mobile phones, because mobile phone is so much a bring your own device, where usually the device comes with an app. And it is, I think, also driven by software as a service, which I think is really the second generation of consumerization of IT. So I think it worked extremely well for us, but I don't think we are unique. I think there are a lot of similar models at this point in time.
I'm feeling a little ignored here on the freemium side. I'm feeling a little ignored on the freemium question. We're a freemium business too.
Well, okay, go on.
I thought I should say that out.
Pitch me.
Actually, we actually believe in B2B freemium, which is unusual for B2B companies. And we actually committed to it for two reasons. And number one is actually sound business sense. For the same reason it works for you guys, we find that hundreds of thousands of businesses are using us for free online, and that's how they discover this. And actually, sort of from our mission statement, if we want to be the company or the place or the way that companies discover their strategy and then execute their strategy, then the more companies that are doing this instead of playing Battleship, because Battleship's not the right way to set your strategy or to try and compete online.
So I was actually going to ask you, you guys are into web analytics, data mining, business intelligence, big data, lots of buzzwords. How are these technologies kind of actually impacting on normal people every day? Is the point that we can't see it, but you're really the person changing our lives rather than the kind of consumer brands?
It means that businesses can make smarter decisions about what they should be doing. They can be a lot more nimble. So in a world where you're effectively blind to what's going on around you in terms of your competitors, you're not optimizing your strategy to what the users actually want. If one of your competitors discovers something that's really good for consumers, the sooner you find out about that, the sooner you can act and the sooner you can bring that to your customers too. And that's true with the mobile, that's true with desktop, that's true with apps. And so by providing the ability for businesses to be nimble and agile, it actually helps everybody. Because if they don't know about how to do this, then they're effectively operating in a vacuum and they're just guessing. So giving businesses the opportunity to get a feedback loop from customers, not even just their own customers, actually helps them be faster and do better.
So I was going to move on to Renaud now because you don't really have control over a lot of things that people do with Eventbrite. And I was wondering how you kind of deal with it if someone did not enjoy that free event that you have kind of no idea about.
Well, we've invested a lot in ensuring that attendees have a quality experience. So that involves having a fraud and risk team that actually tries to detect bad events and detect them before they're happening. Fake events happen almost the day we launched.
Oh, wow.
People just have a tendency to want to abuse systems when they are out there.
Oh, try and sell anything.
The first time we launched our payment processing, we had a fraud event, the first day. So if you're not ahead of the curve and think about the problems that you will bring onto yourself if you're not careful, and trust is a big issue online. Like, we had to be the platform of trust that people come to because they know that they will be taken care of if something goes wrong. And that's where we've really invested over the last few years. We have a team that's called Trust and Safety. That's all they care about, that the people have a great time.
Fun
if
guys.
they don't, that they are heard, that they will know that we will do whatever it takes to correct the situation. And we've actually had a lot of circumstances where organizers are actually putting up legitimate events, but things happen in their financial life that makes it impossible for them to actually realize the event. They go bankrupt, for example. That's happened a few times, and we have to, we're liable for a lot of money on the table. Like, we collected all the payments for the event. What do we do? And that's where having a very customer-focused state of mind helps make the right decision. I think Airbnb was in the same case when people vandalized homes of the host that people were abusing. They had to find a way to be fair to the hosts and to everybody who rents a place that they don't own. Similarly, we have to be fair on both sides and find ways to be that trusted middle ground where people feel very comfortable dealing with.
Okay. And moving on to competition, I've seen some of your latest Y-Plan ads on the tube, Ritus, which seems to be picking up on the phenomenon of Netflix and chill and the difficulty it might have in kind of convincing people to go outside when they could stay in their flats and do whatever they're doing, and order delivery and watch Netflix. So I was just wondering, if competition is now, it's between all of these tech players rather than simply, an events company versus an events company, or, how are you finding that?
So with regards to the marketing campaigns, we're running actually a little bit of a more expansive campaign right now. And one message is exactly that, is, do something with your life, right? Box sets are not the answer. That's one of the ad copies. And then in parallel, we're advertising some of the unique features that are always true about Y-Plan. So one of the campaigns, he basically says, with best price guarantee on all events, who needs a fancy ad? Full stop. right? So that you know that when you come to Yplan, this is the one thing that will always be true. So for instance, we have a best price guarantee basically on everything that is featured on Yplan. And what we find actually is that like with any marketplaces, it's a fascinating journey, but basically when a new marketplace emerges, you typically have plenty of competitors springing up and like somebody's trying to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And over time, what happens is, a little bit like in, a private car hire market, right? So the way that you now get your car, you typically don't get to the street anymore, right? You get it on your app. The way that you order, a cleaner to your home, you typically don't call that funky agency with 3 cleaners, right? You use a handy. And the way that you book a spa or, a hairdresser appointment, you don't just, walk in. Oftentimes you go to a Wahanda and whatnot. So basically,
How can you tell?
What's that?
How can you tell?
I just can. So the point there basically that is over time, every marketplace just distills itself basically, and you have 1 maximum 2 companies that emerge as winning consumer propositions, and it's a matter of execution, of focus, of relentlessly prioritizing things that are most important at that stage of the company's development, not putting the cart ahead of the horse, in every possible area, from product to marketing to supply growth, etc. So,
but do you have Netflix in your sights? Are you looking at those guys and thinking like they're stopping people from going outside?
actually, the number one thing that we are displacing, indeed, is actually staying at home, because that's the easiest thing to do, is do nothing. And unfortunately, inertia is something that we're all prone to, including myself, including yourself, Kirsty, I'm sure. And therefore, the ad is basically quite simplistic like that, right? It's just like, box sets are not the answer, right? So go do something fun.
Okay. So we've got 4 minutes left, and I don't know if there are any questions in the audience. I've got plenty more hilarious questions that I want to ask as well. So does anybody want to? There is a young man at the front, and apparently there are microphones, and I might have sprung this on somebody who wasn't expecting it.
Or if you ask, we can probably...
Oh, we've got a microphone up here. Can we turn this one on?
Hi, so this event is all about kind of corporates working with startups. And I think most of you guys are almost in that in-between stage where young startups will see you as pretty big players now. You've raised some money, you're well established, and you're yourselves starting to be disrupted by new startups. So with Yplan, we've got Dojo, who just raised quite a lot of money, doing really well in London. We've got Slack, trying to kind of upset Dropbox a little bit, and people using that. We've got Eventbrite disrupting by other new ticketing platforms. So how are you guys kind of working with startups and investing in the youth and new tech and new players?
You took the words right out of my mouth. How do you stop yourselves from being complacent, becoming the next BlackBerry of software?
I can start if you want.
Yeah, please do.
Probably when did you start?
8 years ago.
Okay, so we're the oldest company here, so we're the most at risk of being disrupted, probably. I think it boils down to being really customer-centric. I mean, it's cliche maybe, but that's something we really care for. It's solving the needs of our customers and not solving them in the way that has been done before. So when we launched our reserved seating offering, for example, how to fill a room like this with numbered seats, we didn't do it the way that other companies have done it before. We did it in a self-service way, which was very novel, and I don't think anybody else has that currently. There's a couple of startups now that are trying to do that as well. So we have to always keep ahead of the curve, and when trying to solve our customers' pain points, try to think of new ways to do it, and that's the only way to stay ahead of the curve. We spend a lot of time looking at technology that exists out there and how we incorporate it into our products to make our offering the best out there. And that's a constant challenge. Like, technology has changed so much in the last 10 years. We had to evolve so many times already that it's something that you kind of learn and adapt as you go and build the team that you need to come up with these ideas and actually realize them. That's the tough act to follow.
And we've probably got about 30 seconds each for everybody else, so do you want to give us a...
Sure. I mean, I think I would first definitely echo what you said. It's about being customer-centric. I think there's a second piece, which is it's a mindset. Yeah, I think you need to make absolutely sure with like the team that you have that the team doesn't get into this to this point where they think, okay, we made it. Yeah, and that's a big danger. Yeah, especially if you have a very, very successful track record. And so it's very much a leadership task. You need to go back to the team again and again and again and say, no, we haven't made it, and in fact, probably nobody ever makes it. Yeah? And so you also need to challenge the team to disrupt ourselves. Yeah, the moment where you are, I mean, it's a bit of a commonplace, but the moment where you are afraid of disrupting your existing business by some of the innovations you are thinking about, and you then maybe decide not to do, that's when you start having a real problem. And I think that is something where I can only applaud our founders, who not only have come up with the initial innovation, they have really pushed the company again and again. And whenever somebody wanted to defend a fiefdom, existing product, existing way of doing business, they have said, no, there is a better way of doing it, and let's throw the old one out, let's bring the new one in. Keeps you on your toes, yeah, there's no doubt about that.
And Rhesus, you're only a few years old, so are you already thinking about these new players coming and pulling the rug out from under you?
Of course, just very briefly, I guess, because we're about to run out of time. But about a year and a half after launching, I was counting about 40 copycat businesses, around the world actually, that followed the Y Plan's tracks and tried to do this and that. And today we probably have about maybe 7 left, actually. So the test of time is the most powerful one, actually, whereby you see who is actually doing something more interesting other than trying to just copy what you're already doing. That said, the way that you remain relevant is by maintaining absolute focus on what you do, as opposed to what your competition does, and hiring. So a little bit to what you were saying just a minute ago, the way that we look to hire our management team is I specifically look for 2 traits: insecure, overachiever. And that's the best combination of how you can continuously drive the business forward, is by having those people who are always paranoid about their own progress and pushing themselves forward so hard that there's not even an opportunity for anybody to catch up, because we're so focused on our own execution and our own set of challenges that we need to resolve, as opposed to starting to look around too early. So
wonderful. Well, we're going to have to stop there, Ephraim. Thank you so much for coming in at the last minute. We'll find Jason and having words with him later. Bindi's doing she's going to cut my head off sign.
No,
so we are going to have to stop there. So it is lunchtime. I was going to ask about all male panels, but I shall save that for my Twitter account. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you guys, too.